Hey guys, today it's time for another monthly recommendations. So this month's topic are duologies, and I'm really excited about this because I think we all need a little bit more duologies in our life. I am excited to recommend some of my favorite duologies to you, and also some duologies that I didn't love, but that I think other people would really enjoy, and I just kind of want to get out there. I am including a couple of ones that you have probably heard about, but yeah, let's just get into it. Let's just get the biggest one out of the way, and that is the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. First book being Six of Crows, the second book being Crooked Kingdom. This is an absolutely amazing duology, and Leigh Bardugo is an amazing writer. The world building is amazing. I personally am still of the opinion that you should have read the Grisha trilogy, or what is now called the Shadow and Bone trilogy, before you read these, because I do think it's good to have knowledge of the basic world. If you're like 100% sure you never want to pick up Shadow and Bone, I guess it is fine to read these, but I think if you're like, oh, I think I want to read Shadow and Bone eventually, I definitely recommend reading that first and then this duology. But it's just amazing. It has amazing characters. It is very, very character driven. I think sometimes it gets described as like heist and like adventure and stuff, but like the characters are 100% what makes this a great duology, and I definitely recommend it. Then I have the This Savage Song duology by Victoria Schwab. This is an amazing duology that is also just really, really great. I have to say I did not like the second book as much as I liked the first book. I think the second book is a little bit too long for my personal liking. I think it could have been shorter. This has an amazing concept that is so timely and that is so important. This is a YA duology where like crimes breed actual real life monsters, and there's 3 kinds of monsters, all from like different kinds of crimes and stuff. It's just kind of a look at the world, and you kind of know that the world is very close to our world, but at the same time, because it has these like sci-fi elements or fantasy elements, it just doesn't feel as close. I don't know. All I know is that this is an incredible duology that everybody should read. Then I have the Witch Hunter duology by Virginia Baker. This is definitely an underrated duology that you might have heard of if you've been on my channel for a little while, but that I still think not enough people know about. This is a great YA fantasy duology, and it is a little bit historical fantasy, which is really the kind of fantasy that I like, and I think if you're into that kind of fantasy, you will definitely also enjoy it. It's about witches, obviously, but very much is kind of medieval fantasy, I guess. Easy to understand. It has a really, really wonderful romance and a bunch of really amazing, lovable characters. So this is another one that, while I really appreciate the world building, and this is definitely the kind of fantasy that I really love, the characters are also what made this for me. Then I have the Abyss duology by Emily Skrutsky, and this is a YA science fiction duology about queer pirate ladies, which is just the most amazing thing. This is so good, and it's another one that's definitely intriguing when it comes to world building and plot, but definitely another one where the characters are the strongest and most amazing thing about it. The characters are wonderful, the romance in it is so good and so healthy, the power dynamic is so well done. I love this duology so much. These are really, really quick reads, and it deals with a lot of kind of heavy topics in a way, but it's still very like fluffy and makes you feel really, really good and happy. Oh my god, I love this duology so much. Then I have the Ivy duology by Amy Engel. Now, it's been a couple of years since I read this duology, but this is just a really, really fun YA dystopian duology. The first book is very much selection-like. It has this similar vibe. It focuses a lot on the romance, but it is set in a dystopian world. But then at the end of the first book and in the second book, it's much more focused on this dystopian world building. I actually love the first book more than I love the second book because I enjoy romance, and I think it's a really, really interesting concept, and I just really enjoyed their kind of development. But overall, I think this is a great duology that has interesting world building, and I thought this was another like fun and quick read, so I definitely recommend this. I think this is definitely another slightly underrated one, and I know dystopian is kind of out of fashion, but if you're looking for something that feels a little bit like The Selection but has a little bit more world building, then the Ivy duology is definitely perfect for you. And then I have the one duology that I personally did not love, but that has a super intriguing concept, and so I still want to recommend this, and that is the Vivian Apple duology, I think it's called. The first book being Vivian versus the Apocalypse, and the second book being Vivian versus America. This is a YA dystopian / apocalyptic duology. It's about an apocalypse like we know in the Bible, where, you know, those people that are good people leave, and the rest of the sinful people are left on Earth, and one of them is Vivian. And her parents are actually gone, and just kind of about this weird kind of phenomenon, and everybody just being like, holy shit, this is actually what happens. It has a super intriguing concept. I personally thought the world building was a little bit weak, but I also read the first book not knowing that it would have a sequel, so I was disappointed with this one because I thought this was a standalone and it did not answer enough of my questions. So rereading this one, I might be a little bit less disappointed seeing it as a first book, but then I still thought this did not answer enough questions, so I can't wholeheartedly recommend it, but it is an incredibly cool concept, and I have heard from a lot of people that they really enjoyed it, so I thought it would still be a great idea to recommend it simply because I don't think it's bad. I just wish it had a little bit more, but for its intriguing concept alone, I definitely recommend it if you think that sounds interesting to you. It's really cool. I kind of want to have more of these kinds of books. And I'm gonna mention one more duology. This is not a duology, and some of you are gonna kill me for recommending this, but I can never not use an opportunity to recommend these books. This is not a duology technically, but it is, in my opinion, a series that you can absolutely read as a duology, and that is The Archived and The Unbound. Now, there is supposed to be a third book. We don't know if it ever happens. We don't know if this third book is ever going to be published, but I think this definitely can be read as a duology. I called this duology for a really long time. I didn't even know that there was going to be a third book in the first few months after I finished The Unbound. I think it works as a duology. I think that there's more things we can explore in a trilogy. I think there's a lot more regarding the characters that we as fans want from this world and from this story, but as far as the overall arc, I think these work really well as a duology, and this is just an amazing YA fantasy with such a unique concept. I love everything about this. This is one of my favorite series of all time. It has amazing characters, the romance is really slow burn and so beautiful. I love everything about this, and this is so underrated. Don't sleep on this. It's good. Read it. It can be read as a duology, and I will die on that hill. Anyway, these are all of the duologies I want to recommend to you today. Let me know if there's any duologies that you really love that you would recommend to other people. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!